Hello and welcome to Military Mayday. We're pointing out a few pieces on the chessboard. Got a couple articles we're going to read through today. One of them says Ukraine faces slow, protracted defeat. Military analysis say, and yeah, you knew this was going to come. And U.S. Autonomous F-16 is set as a core of an F-35 combat squadron, and they're going to use this as a wingman, autonomous wingman, and so we'll see how this article plays through. But before we start, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, smash them both up. The Biden administration has not given a clear commitment to Kiev winning the war started by Vladimir Putin. This means that the Ukraine faces a long, slow defeat, military analysts have said. Philip O'Brien, professor of strategic studies at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland, wrote in the Wall Street Journal that the U.S. had denied Ukrainians the weapons they need to hit Russian targets. He also questioned whether President Joe Biden really wants Ukraine to win. He doesn't. They're just a proxy, and they're just testing Russia and seeing what weapons Russia's got. While they are congressional holdups to providing further U.S. aid to Kyiv, Washington has been the biggest donor to Ukraine since the start of Vladimir Putin's full-scale invasion. This is despite calls up from GOP lawmakers to cut the budget for Ukraine. O'Brien said that while Biden may have said the U.S. would help Ukraine for as long as it takes, the administration has never made a clear commitment to Ukrainian victory, in which it can liberate all of its legally recognized territory and become part of NATO. Perhaps the reason for this reluctance is obvious. The Biden administration doesn't want Ukraine to win. He wrote, describing how Biden's administration wants to force a sordid deal on Kiev in which it cedes territory to Putin. We've also got election year coming up, and people aren't wanting to spend all this money in Ukraine. The best evidence of this is that the administration has bent over backwards not to supply Ukraine with the weapons needed to hit Russian targets in Crimea. And why else? Why would we give up all of our weapons there anyway? Those are kind of for us. Among the nearly $50 billion in military aid the U.S. has provided are HIMARS, Howitzer artillery, fighting vehicles, and ammunition, as well as defensive weapons such as Patriot anti-air systems. Ukraine has used HIMARS to hit Russian ammunition and supply depots, but O'Brien said the U.S. had limited the type of HIMARS ammunition it provided, which meant Ukraine could only attack within 50 miles of the front, leaving Crimea off limits. In depriving the Ukrainians of the ability to mount a sustained long-range campaign against Russia, the administration is leaving Kyiv without the capability it needs to win. This sentiment has also been expressed by other military experts, such as retired Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, who has called for Ukraine to get the full capabilities to strike targets in Crimea. O'Brien's op-ed was shared on X by Mykola Something, a research fellow at Kyiv-based National Institute for Strategic Studies, who posted that he would be more blunt in his assessment that the way military aid is being given to Ukraine is the recipe for slow, protracted defeat. Asymmetry in long-range firepower means with artificial constraints imposed on Ukraine is just one example that leads to such a conclusion. In response, U.S. State Department has told Newsweek in a statement, "We want to see Ukraine win this war. We are the reason Putin has not totally overrun Ukraine and moved beyond that. The people in the United States can and should take pride in what we've enabled Ukraine's success thanks to the steady supply of weapons and ammunitions we provided Ukraine together with our partners and our allies." Zelensky also said that Western military help was not just in the interest of Ukraine, but in the interest of the West, because Ukrainians are fighting for the world. Well, I don't know about that, but they're losing a lot of men. Know that much. Okay, let's see this one. U.S. Autonomous F-16 is set as a core of an F-35 combat squadron. Looking towards the future of military aviation, the U.S. Air Force is pushing forward with tests on autonomous flight operations using F-16 Vipers. Set to take place in 2024, the aim is to develop a squadron of drone wingmen able to support manned fighter jets. This is going to be very interesting. These tests will be carried out under the banner of Project VENOM, designed to kickstart innovation, standing for pardon me, Project VENOM standing for Viper Experimentation and Next Generation Operations Model, will integrate autonomous capabilities into 6 F-16s. The F-16s will undergo a transformational process, starting as human-controlled jets and then transitioning to controlled by autonomous software during in-flight tests. The U.S. Air Force is eager to validate the effectiveness of autonomous flights, aligning with the collaborating combat aircraft concept. In the overarching vision of the CCA, at least 1,000 autonomous aircraft would synergistically accompany the F-35A and Next Generation Air Dominance family of fighter jets. With this approach, the Air Force plans to deploy 2 CCAs for each of the 200 NGAD platforms, as well as 2 for each of the 300 F-35s. The range of tasks these autonomous companions could carry out is quite diverse, from conducting electronic warfare and undertaking reconnaissance missions to acting as leading scouts to gather intelligence. Furthermore, these CCAs will be armed either with guns or missiles for strikes against enemy targets, and may even function as decoys when required. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. The projected 2024 budget of the Air Force sees an approximate allocation of $50 million for the Project VENOM, which intends to test autonomous software using F-16 jets. The extra $69 million will be aimed at the creation of of an experimental team to strategize and develop protocols to integrate CCAs into squadron units. $69 million for the experimental team, $70 million for a team to strategize and develop protocols, $50 million for the project itself. Well, them guys must be really expensive per hour. According to Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall, in November 2023, the fleet of CCAs may likely exceed the current estimate of 1,000 units that have been set for planning purposes. Nevertheless, in-depth study and understanding of autonomous flight technology are needed to smoothly integrate into routine unit operations before any large-scale deployment is attempted. To refine the autonomous software, data from in-flight interaction between pilots and machines will be collected during the Project VENOM trials. The tests are designed to help the U.S. Air Force understand how to instruct squadrons on deploying CCAs effectively and minimize potential risk associated with using autonomous drones. The affordability of the CCA is also a crucial aspect, with the aim of them to be cost-effective enough to be attributable, therefore allowing the possible losses during battle. As per Kendall, the cost of a CCA could be 25 to 30% of an F-35, translating into a range of 20 to 27 million. This cost effectiveness could facilitate riskier missions for CCAs, reducing jeopardy for human pilots. However, the proposition hasn't received an enthusiastic response from the U.S. Congress, particularly regarding funding. In response to this, the U.S. Air Force is exploring alternative channels to commence work, keeping in view of the goal of fielding by 2028. The XQ-58 Valkyrie is a pioneer of several autonomous wingman programs, which one includes Project VENOM, another notable project. The cutting-edge technology is the heart of the U.S. military's effort to unlock the benefits of autonomous weaponry. This is new technology holds immense promise. That one's Valkyrie, I believe. That's a QX-58A Valkyrie. The Air Force sees the Valkyrie, a drone of the future, as a potential supplement to its existing fleet of fighter aircraft. It will function as an efficient robotic wingman during combat, capable of recognizing, evaluating, and alerting human pilots to potential threats. There is a growing concern among military strategists regarding the possible large-scale conflict with China, particularly a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. Despite significant investments in current Air Force infrastructure and weaponry, its efficacy is in such a situation is under debate. The reason behind this is that China has stationed over 1,000 anti-aircraft and anti-ship missiles along its coastlines and on man-made islands in the South China Sea. These installations considerably hinder the U.S.'s response capabilities in an invasion of Taiwan, risking significant land and air losses. Consider the F-35 fighter jet coming with a hefty price tag of $80 million per unit as the number of these high-cost combat aircraft reduces after years of production. The U.S. Air Force sees its fleet become both older and smaller than ever before. This is a gap that AI-powered drones or cooperative combat aircraft aim to fill. Some in the Air Force have monikered the program as affordable mass, considering the plans to manufacture 1,000 to 2,000 of these drones at a cost of $3 million each, which is just a fraction of the cost of an advanced fighter jet. These robotic air traffic will serve as myriad of specialized roles. Oh yeah, they'll serve quite the big purpose. But here comes the robotic army people have been talking about, drones and robots and all that stuff. As long as it's programmed right, you don't have to worry about anything like Terminator happening. Say, listen, if you like this information, smash the like button, subscribe. Until next time, we'll have to say toodaloo.